Mr. Green? Mr. Green?
Yeah.
You need any help?
Mm-mm.
I just want you to know, I think you're the best ever.
Yeah, sure.
Want my Coke? It's okay, you can have it.
No.
Really, you can have it.
Take a good look. These are the unlucky ones. These unfortunate souls are suffering from ESS, enlarged scrotum syndrome. For these poor devils, it's too late. But there is hope. Here at the Atlanta Genital Institute, teams of doctors are at work around the clock to cure this dreaded affliction.
What's this stuff? Some cereal. It's supposed to be good for you. Did you try it? I'm not gonna try it. You try it. I'm not gonna try it. Let's get Mikey. Yeah. He won't eat it. He hates everything. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
When you bring life home, don't tell the kids it's one of those nutritional cereals you've been trying to get them to eat. You're the only one who has to know.
Gotta have my pops.
There we are, folks. You got your first round of commercials here with us. Welcome to our Super Bowl stream. We'll talk football movies, sports in general, and everything like that. So everyone out there, thanks for joining us and hanging out with us. Great folks here tonight. Left Eye Ego, my brother. How are you doing, friend? It's awesome.
Doing great.
Sporting the star, reminding everybody of his allegiance. I like it. And right here, CANNOLISASQUATCH as well. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. I wanted to make sure that Ego saw my name. I changed my name in the for the show.
Yeah, very important. Very important. He's calling shots fired. We got you. Yeah. So listen, it's kind of a cool thing. It's not really on brand. I did a political election night one too, where it was just like, well, it's what's in my brain and my head. I just do one thing. I'm not going to sit here and derail the whole channel or anything like that. I do joke with all the nerds over the last couple of weeks that we're doing this and call it, we're going to have sports ball night. And we're going to do sports ball. But no, listen, it's funny because as I've talked about different things, it comes up and almost everybody is a sports fan. It's not necessarily as primary for a lot of folks as it used to be.
Sure,
that's their own fault. So they deserve a lot of that. So we'll see how the ratings and everything else shakes up for the Super Bowl. So
that's true.
First, let's say hello to some of these wonderful folks. Jacob Ironside hanging out with this brother. Hope you're doing well. I'll be on with Jacob here in a little bit. We're going to do a night. We're going to talk about Jurassic Park. 30 years, guys. Can you believe Jurassic Park's 30 freaking years? It's
unbelievable. Good Lord.
It cut me deep.
Makes me feel
this is Steve's representing, hanging out. Awesome. Thank you, lady. ZBR from across the pond. Hey, brother. Hope you're doing all right. And of course, the lovely Sherry representing. Awesome. Hope you guys are all doing well and that kind of thing. So, I actually had to admit that the sports ball joke was exasperated because I did a little poll about the Super Bowl and it was going away. Nobody cared. It was like Chiefs win, Eagles win, don't care. I'd rather watch Matlock. And it was going away, just dumb. Wow, it was I'd rather watch Matlock. So I don't know. I always kind of have my finger on the pulse of the Super Bowl. I don't always watch it, but I will always usually catch up with the commercials and some of that kind of stuff, that kind of thing. So Cannoli, you first. So where are you at on you watch a Super Bowl? It's still a party night. It's a thing, or do you need to have an allegiance? Where are you at on that?
I will say, when I was obviously younger, and even not that long ago, maybe 5 years ago, it was a religion. I had to watch the Super Bowl start to finish.
Yeah.
And I would like to have a team to root for and against if it wasn't my team. So now I would say with life and growing up a little more and having more priorities, it's still in the forefront, but not as prevalent. So I will, like last year, I didn't watch it initially at the beginning of the game. I caught it more towards right before halftime, and then like kind of what you said, I went back and watched a lot of the commercials I missed. Yeah, I would say that it's just part of my culture. Like even the NFL and me have a really tumultuous relationship recently, especially with all the crap that's happened in the last 5-7 years with it. But I still like to watch it. I do like to watch the commercials. The commercials have been terrible basically every year. There's like maybe one or two that I'm like, oh, that was really good. But I just can't stop. And my wife likes to do it. And my kid now, she's a teenager. She wants to watch the commercial. So then I just end up watching the game at that point because I'm stuck to the TV. And it's like, we make it a family thing. And even if we have to make fun of some of it,
Sure.
we do it together. So it's a good bonding experience for us. Yeah. So.
That makes sense. Yeah. Ego, you're nodding along. So I assume we're all in the same boat a little bit with the perspective on this.
Yeah, well, obviously, as you can see by my hat, and I'm still in an abusive relationship with my Dallas Cowboys. So, I mean, I guess the weird thing is that this is like the first full year that I got to be in Texas and actually wear the jersey, because I couldn't do that when I was living in Philly. So, the year that I actually get to celebrate it are the years that we have the worst losses. And then because I have friends in Philly, I get trolled for 2 weeks straight. Like, one of my patients trolled me so bad. He was like, hey, did you hear the news? I'm like, what? He's like, yo, all the owners said they got together and they said no team is going to be able to host their own Super Bowl in their own city. So they're going to have it in Dallas every year. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, the savagery. It is your own people sometimes.
Fish on the hook, baby. Fish on the hook right there.
He got me. So, I mean, I guess the funny thing is growing up, at least in Texas, is like they will cut a sermon short because they know the game is at noon. So they're like, hey, we're going to cut altar call is going to be 3.5 minutes. You need to run up in here or talk to the pastor later because the game's about to be on. So it's ingrained in you.
So they're praying to God and then they're cutting them short. We got to go watch.
Wow.
Watch the football. Yes. Like, we know Jesus, like, the Lord rested on Sunday because he could watch the Cowboys play too. So,
I know.
So whenever they have the Super Bowl, it was always a big church function. So I was growing up around the fact that, everyone is together for the Super Bowl. So it's kind of always followed me. So this year, I mean, we're still going to watch just because the stakes are great. I think the only version of this that's a little bit more entertaining is, I don't know how you feel about gambling. If you ever go to a casino during Super Bowl, it is the wildest 2.5 to 3 hours you'll ever see. I have never seen someone get so excited over a coin toss. Like, yes, it was tails.
It's insane. They just added this this calendar year, sports betting to Arizona. So not only do they have it on your apps, but now the casinos here have them. So my dad just went there recently just to do something, and he's like, man, I can't believe the sports book, the weeks before the Super Bowl, just packed to the brim with people putting in bets, and it's making them so much money. But you're right, the betting is the coin toss, the length of the national anthem, and like every little thing. How long is the grass? How many inches is the turf?
Wow.
And it's it's insane.
I was so addicted to like fantasy football, and like
really.
Oh, it was bad. I really had a problem because I'm a math and science person, right? So 90% of this is statistics, right?
Okay.
So it's like law of numbers and different little statistics, right? So I would have like 6 or 8 leagues, and there'd be like one big money league, and I had a problem, and it was not like addicted, like I couldn't live without it. I went cold turkey off, but it was just like it was consuming so much of my time in my life, and like this is like the middle 2000s in particular. Like it was like I
have. Did you ever watch The League?
No. I tried to watch parts of it, and I was like, this might be a little too close to home or whatever when I first started watching it. I probably need to go back and
Pops is having flashbacks. He's like, no, I can't do this. I can't do it.
It was a lot. So, but yeah, no, I'm such a, I'm one of those that has like these pocket windows where I know way too much information still in my head that, it's like, then it's like I had this divorce with like the divorce phase where I didn't watch really much of anything. And now it's kind of like a hybrid where I follow a lot on my phone and things like that, but I don't really watch it. But so we get too far into it though. What is your first? We'll go to Ego first. What is like your first like Super Bowl memory? Whether it's something you watched or watched on TV, or you got your first Super Bowl memory, your first one.
The earliest one I can remember was I think I had to have been like 8 or 9, and we were living in Illinois at that time. But it was exciting for us because the Cowboys won the Super Bowl that year. It was 94-95, and we found out that we were going to be moving to Dallas like a few months later. So it was an exciting time. So I just remember them, always being so dominant. It's like, wow, when we get here, they're going to win more championships. Has not happened since. Maybe it's not me. But it was an exciting thing.
Well, you left and it didn't change things, and now you're back. So I guess the test.
Okay.
Yeah, we've run the control group, and we basically still came up with craps. So I gotta be honest.
Just saying.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, Cannoli, what about you, brother?
Oh man, I would say mine was actually in 1986, 87 when the Giants beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl. So it was about 7 or 8. What I remember about that year, and I really wish I was an adult enjoying at that time, because the Mets just won the World Series against the Red Sox that October. The Giants went into the Super Bowl as heavy favorites against Denver. And I remember enough, we got together. I had uncles and aunts, and we had a major party because it was the first time the Giants were in the Super Bowl in a long time. We had a big party, and I remember just, as a kid, you mimic what your dad was doing at the time. So he's screaming and jumping. I had no idea what I was watching. I just mimicked him, but I remember vividly. It's really weird, the stuff you remember when you're young, right? So that was my first memory. And if I was an adult now, if that happened now where my baseball and football team won back in the same 2-month, 3-month span, I'd probably... I would just, be ecstatic. But yeah, I remember that vividly because I remember the family being together. I remember the joy, and it was just a great time. And we still talk about that to this day. Every time around the Super Bowl, my dad brings up, hey, do you remember that time when your uncles and other people were visiting from out of town? I was like, yeah, actually I do. So there's that. And then, of course, in 1990, again, when they won against Buffalo. And so this very young. So I was very happy. Sorry, Ego, that I got to see my team win as an adult, and I have a story about that later on too. But yeah, it was some good childhood memories there, man. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, it's awesome. I actually somewhat similar stories in the sense of we moved to Tampa the year they finally won a couple games. It was 1979.
Wow.
They go to the playoff. They go to the NFC Championship game. It's a Florida Monsoon Bowl, so they lose. They lose to the Rams 9-6 because they could only kick field goals. Right?
I remember that. I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Rams go to the Super Bowl, and I remember watching because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course. So you have Bradshaw, Swan, Stallworth, Franco Harris, Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Mean Joe Green, just the list, just all of the goats, right? So that was my first Super Bowl experience because it was this special time. You're in a state where they're winning, and it was really fun because during this era, well into my teens. I don't even know who this person is. I've never really even done the legwork. Whoever did the cartooning for the sports page had amazing, elaborate cartoons that they would do every week of who they're playing. And, it would be, the Bucks fighting an eagle because they're fighting, it would be these very elaborate cartoons and stuff.
That's awesome.
I just remember all of these things happening well into my teens. So that was my first one. But I want to say that one of the coolest memories I have, which it's so awesome, was 49ers beat the Bengals on the catch, right? The catch in the back of the end zone, right?
Yeah.
I'm watching the game in a Kmart. My mom and my grandmother are taking us shopping, and I'm watching the game at the Kmart in the electronics department and watch the catch at the freaking.
Wow, that must have been something. Yeah.
So I was so in awe. I just couldn't believe I was watching Montana do that. It was something, and it was. I'm that old, guys. For those of you that are doing the math, it's like, it's that crazy. It is that crazy. So
that's awesome. Yeah,
that's awesome. Okay, so Cannoli, you teased it. That you teased it online, and then just a moment ago too. So You went to a game? Went to a Super Bowl?
So I actually talked about this with Ego on his show a long time ago. So I got very lucky. I living in Arizona in 2007. The Super Bowl came here, and it was the Patriots and the Giants, right? So at that time, I had a job working for the Arizona Cardinals as a security guard doing their home games. So I got to work in the stadium the 8 weeks out of the year that they were home. Got to know a lot of people, supervisors, stuff. So they asked me in the last game of the regular season. They said, "Would you want to work the Super Bowl?" I had no intention of saying yes at the time. And then I thought about it on my lunch break. And I was like, why not? Like, it's just a once in a lifetime thing, right? I'm going to work the Super Bowl. It's stupid for me not to, and little did I know the Giants were going to. So every time the Giants advanced in the playoffs, I was like, is it possible? I was like, nah, there's no way they're going to go to Green Bay and beat Green Bay. Like, in the frozen tundra, 40 below zero. And when they kicked the field goal to win the Super Bowl, to get into the Super Bowl, sorry, and win the championship, NFC championship, my wife just looks at me and she goes, "Do you realize that you're going to be working the Super Bowl with your team in the Super Bowl?" And I was like, "Yeah, but they're playing the Patriots." Like, that's just how I am. I was very glass half empty sometimes. And she's like, "Wait, listen to what you're saying." So anyway, I got to work the Super Bowl. In the first quarter of the Super Bowl, I was kind of roaming around. I was guarding celebrities. I met Jason Taylor. I met celebrities guarding the red carpet. But the game was on. So I'm watching it and I'm like really not doing my job very well because my supervisor was like, "Listen, dude, you got to kind of like do your job," because I know. So initially what he did, he's like, "I'm going to take you somewhere else." So he pulls me aside. I'm in a tent watching the game. And I'm like, "I'm going home because if I can't watch this, I'm not doing this." So another guy comes up to me. He goes, "Listen, come with me." He takes me in and we start walking towards the stadium. He's like, "I got a surprise for you." He's like, "I'm going to put you on the Patriots sidelines." Like, "Dude, you put me on the Patriots side, I'm getting in a fight with Tom Brady. Something bad's going to happen," right? Joking around. I'm like, "I'm a Giants fan." He goes, "I know, me too. I'm from New Jersey. I'm a Giant fan. I just moved here." So he goes, "Just follow me." So we're walking. I walk down the tunnel. As soon as you walk into the stadium, at that time, usually the roof is open, but it was like really cold and rainy here. So it was closed. 80,000 people. The energy was palpable. You walked in there, it's like a jolt of lightning just hit you. And you're like, wow, media everywhere, celebrities everywhere, sports commentators everywhere, and an ESPN crew. I'm like, what the hell? So I'm in awe. He goes, "Come with me." We're walking and I'm not paying attention. He goes, "All right, stand right here. This is going to be your post now. Enjoy. You're welcome." And I hear somebody screaming in the corner of my left ear. I look over and I'm like maybe 5-10 feet from Michael Strahan. And he's screaming at the defense, "Go, we're going to win." And Eli Manning's coming over. He's tapping his offensive line. And he's like, "You're welcome." He's like, "I don't care if you don't do your job anymore tonight." Because he goes, "Are you ever coming back here?" I go, "No, I'm going to die. If I die now, I'm a happy man. This is it." So second quarter on, I saw the miraculous catch. I was right there when the helmet catch happened. I was there at the end when Strahan was telling the team, "We're going to hold the paint." Like, I saw it all. I even got to run onto the field with Eli Manning. He had to say, "I'm going to Disneyland," all that stuff that they used to do. I had to guard him and knock camera people out of the way when they won. I to this day, I'm in part of Sports Illustrated. I'm in part of the magazine in the background. I have video of all this. I have to get it out someday and show it on YouTube. But it was one of the best experiences of my life. And my kid was being born not long after. Like, it was just one of those years that just was magic. But that whole story, I mean, I saw all the players, Plaxico Burress. I even shook hands with the owner of the Giants at that time, the co-owner on the field, people that I listened to growing up in the media, Tom Jackson, ESPN, Chris Berman. I shook his hand. Like, all these, I was just in awe. But I did get a bad sinus infection 2 days later because I worked 21 hours that day. It was just, but it was worth it. So there you go. Yeah, that was an amazing experience.
It does, and it sounds like it. So Mrs. says you weren't going to do it, so it's like it's one of those things where you just find the right, the stars align.
Yep, it was meant to be there apparently.
Oh, he's in the magazine. That's freaking great. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was magical. Yeah. And then the whole implication of who they played too. I mean, they're playing an undefeated team. The first time that would happen.
Yeah, I remember this.
So, yeah, a lot of smack talking by Giant players after that game to the New England media.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I again, it's just the there's something about the Super Bowl that it has transcended culturally.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the commercial. It was in the mid '80s, of course, with the famous Apple commercial that everyone's seen, right? The Big Brother Apple commercial. It started to transcend culture, and it wasn't just the game; it become the big game, and the ads sort of mattered, and they started running. There's these different eras of different Super Bowl themed commercials that would play the Coke versus Pepsi era, and then the Budweiser stuff kind of came into play, and
I miss the
Doritos
Bud
came into
Bowl.
play.
I used to love the Bud Bowl. It used to be fun watching the different Bud Light and Bud this fight. Like I miss those days because it was just seemed more fun back then. Where now, even the commercials just kind of sometimes feel lifeless and just I don't know. It's just
Dreary.
They're dreary. It's a product of its time, right? Back then it was just really about fun. Now it's I don't know. I don't want to say agendas are being put into it doesn't feel the same. But then again, it could be because we're older now. So.
Mississippi brings up a great point too, by the way, because all these commercials do come out. They just want to get eyes on them. They care as much about eyes. So it's more about getting the online streaming. They're trying to get all the radio shows and everything like that to cover it right before. And that's why they do it. But I agree. It kind of lessens the game experience part. Right. I couldn't agree more with that part. It's really, really a good point there. And Padawannabe is also agreeing about Bud Bowl.
I love the Bud Bowl.
There were so many elements to the tradition of it all, right? There's so many elements to the tradition of it all. Yeah. So, I told Mrs. Pops because we were talking about Super Bowl commercials or whatever, and I said I actually just don't know. So this is why I couldn't be in charge because I would just be like, you know what, this year we're just going to roll out a completely crazy idea, and I said I'm in charge of Coke, and it's just going to be. Going back to basics, and we're just going to do brands, and we're just going to do the polar bears, and this. We're just going to do all those old commercials and just dust them off. We just call it. We're going back to basics. Redo all the labels and all this kind of stuff and all that. And I just think it's like they just don't get the nostalgia bait of what everybody wants. You know what I mean? The love of it all, the passion gets stirred up inside of you. Oh
God,
yeah, Padawannabe. Yeah, that was viral for way too long. It made its way into a movie, right? It made its way into a scary movie. Like it becomes such a big deal. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Mrs. C. That's what Mrs. Pop said too. She said she goes, I tell you what, if Coke had a very humble, it doesn't matter how you feel about us, we're going back to our basics and our roots. And they rolled the polar bear ads out. It would explode. It would just be a massive cultural phenomenon. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And if those of you at home that don't know, I have a huge aesthetic thing for old commercials. Now, I don't have old Super Bowl. It was hard to figure out what you're allowed to play or not play. But everything I did on the intro, I had already uploaded to YouTube, and it went through without any copyright flags. And then I made it members only and demonetized. We'll see what happens. They didn't take the stream down. Okay. That's all I knew. Okay. But I haven't done this yet on my Saturday morning cartoons, but I have a nice collection of vintage cartoons. So in honor of Super Bowl, we'll play a commercial that'll take us all back a minute.
On to McDonald's! Who's the McFriendliest fellow in town? Who's our McFavorite hamburger clown? Whose feet are funniest? Whose smile is sunniest? Ronald McDonald. Who's the McBravest McClown of all? In the spring, summer, winter, and fall. Whose tricks are trickiest? Whose mind is quickiest? Ronald McDonald!
Wow. Innocent times, right? Innocent times.
Yeah, mid 70s, just crazy stuff. So, I was shocked that we didn't get flagged because I did Ego's face on the little boy for the Mean Joe Green, because that's probably one of the most famous advertising campaigns. Was such a big deal with Mean Joe Green. Oh my gosh, it was such a big deal when that happened.
Really?
So, I remember it was a kind of a weird thing. I don't know if you guys are old enough. That it become a thing where people would go to parties just to watch the commercials. Like it was like you had a group of people watching the game. And then when the game stopped, commercials came on. They all went and got food or went to the bathroom, and all the other people came into the room and they're watching the commercials and vice versa. It was this ebb and flow of an event. It was so interesting that had kind of become a thing.
I have friends or family like that. That have my boss has no interest in sports, but he will watch the commercials, and then we'll talk about that when we go to work the next day. Like, hey, did you see this commercial?
Yeah,
the game itself knows nothing of it, and I have family members like that too. It's just you're right. It's just weird. It's a weird dynamic because then you're right. The commercials at this point. This is when now these days I get up and I go get the food or I go do something else because I'm just like I can catch them later on YouTube, right? And then other people would sit and watch and go, oh, you missed this good commercial. It's like, I'll catch it tomorrow. There's the difference where, years ago when I was younger, it was like, no, you have to sit there and watch through the commercials. There's no other way to watch them unless you taped it. But yeah, I do have family and friends like that. And me, I just I can't sit there and watch 4 or 5 hours of just generic commercials anymore. If I catch one, great. But with technology now, it's so easy just to go back and the next day and just, here's the best commercials or all of them in one feed and just watch them all at one time.
Yeah, because I have to admit, if I'm checking something and there's a quote, there's a good commercial, whatever, you can just go to your phone and it'll be either on YouTube already or it'll be on Twitter already.
Oh yeah,
the special novelty of it all is completely gone. So
yeah.
Hater Fran also, by the way, joined us here and spoke.
That's Mom Cannoli Sasquatch.
Yeah, that's the missus of the missus of the. Yeah, there we go. All right. And yeah, Mrs. C says that's why she watches. So
yeah, see.
Oh man, okay. Padawannabe is going to go OG on us here. Ocho Cinco. So didn't the Brickishaw play for in New York at one point? Even prime time, the craziest name you ever can remember. The Brickishaw?
The Brickishaw Ferguson. Jets. Yeah, huge.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, Ocho Cinco was a name change, so he wasn't actually named Ocho Cinco. So that was, that's not quite the same, I don't think. But yeah. So R2 is here. So hey there.
Hey R2.
Moderating another stream. What to say? Hey.
When are you not modding any stream, R2? This guy mods like 12 different streams.
Is he one of these guys that has like 3 or 4 of them all at the same time, like Casino Culture Casino is admitted to doing?
Yeah, R2
Culture admits that he'll have 3 or 4 happening all at the same time, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
I don't know how he does it.
I don't know how to do it either.
I have done that before, but it's usually I'll mute it. I'm listening, I'll mute it, then I'll jump to another one, turn it back on. Especially because right now that's what's happening, right? We'd pre-planned this, guys. I mean, probably back whenever I figured out when the Super Bowl was, I said I'm going to do a Super Bowl night. You guys had either coincidentally just done a sports stream, or I don't know. You guys did something. I was like, oh, let's just start there, and that's how this all started. Now you look at tonight's lineup, and we're going up against, everything from Shelby Loves to Loki's show. So listen, it is what it is. YouTube's a big place. So
enough
Punk Waddle's here. Punk Waddle. Oh, I love Punk Waddle.
So Punk Waddle.
There we go, bro.
Dude, right there.
Yep. I think Coke's new experimental flavor should be member berries and cream. Listen, you know what?
That would be smart.
If it was part of my whole go back to basics thing, I think this is the gold for these companies that have been having these ads and stuff for so long. It's like, you go back to something like that. Why spend so much money on all this crappy marketing? They don't do a good job.
No. It's either pushing an agenda now or just promoting the same old stuff. It's like, you're right. People are hungry for nostalgia. We're in a crazy period right now where it's very popular and people want it. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe we should call somebody. Ego. Should we call people at Coke and say, hey, we got a guy?
I would say this. If you want, I love nostalgia too, but for me, it's like, well, hey, I saw Violent Night, right? So for me, it's like, I remember that there was the Santa for the Coke commercials too. So I'm if you made him Santa and he's kicking butt and he stops to refresh with a Coca-Cola, and it's like, don't be on my naughty list. And it's like, Coca-Cola, with that Santa soda. I'm like, that would work
with
for
David
me.
with David Harbour doing something like that. That would have been a great ad campaign.
No, that's a good
I would have
smart
been
move.
cool. Yeah, like I would watch that. That's pretty cool. It's like,
But you're
well, I
asking these
mean,
people to be creative these days. And
I
there's
know that's
if they can't be creative in movies and TV shows anymore, they're not going to do it in
I know.
commercials.
I know.
But I get
That's-
what you're saying. Yeah.
Right, it would work for me. I mean, I'm cool with the polar bears. I still remember
Yeah.
the Clydesdales commercials for Bush or
Budweiser.
Budweiser, right?
Budweiser.
Yeah.
I love
yeah.
the Clydesdales. Those things are
Yeah.
beautiful. So it's
Yeah.
like you have things in your Rolodex that you can use. I mean,
Yeah.
only the last creative commercial that I saw was the Radio Shack one, where like they had all of their toys and everything.
Oh,
There was a Chucky doll.
Yeah,
That was
they
a
all
good
kept
one.
coming
That was-
in, right? Yeah, that was kind of
Yeah.
cool.
That was the last cool commercial I saw. Now the only reason I'm watching it is because I know that they're going to put the Flash trailer on there, and I need to know what I'm getting myself into.
Oh God, that's right.
Mm.
Yeah, like that's the only thing that I heard that's gonna go. Like I don't know why Ant-Man jumped the gun and released their second trailer and didn't wait to the Super Bowl. Maybe they don't want to spend the money, but now I'm stuck and I'm like, well, I need to figure out what this movie's gonna look like because
Well-
I've only seen the teasers.
It's probably because Disney's laying off 10,000 people or something. So
That's
they're,
true.
they're saving dimes.
Yeah, very true. I forgot. That's very
Where
true.
Warner Brothers needs to put out something because they're
Oh
in
my
bad
God.
shape. So sorry, not to get
Yeah.
into a whole.
No, that's the only
No,
commercial I'm
I-
interested in watching now.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point is of doing your movie commercials is to reach the normies, right? Because they just
Yeah,
don't have
right.
their finger on this like we do.
Right.
So for them, they see an Ant-Man commercial, like, oh, that comes out like this weekend. Cool. What are you doing next weekend, Bob? Let's go see Ant-Man, right? It's like, oh,
Yep.
there's a Flash movie. Well, that's kind of cool. Let's look at that.
Right.
You know, they don't know all this behind the scenes business intrigue
true.
of does this movie even matter anymore? They're redoing the whole,
Right.
they don't even care. Like they
No.
just
They do not,
don't.
no.
They do not. So what other commercials kind of like you think are almost like the legacy commercials? You know, the ones where like because obviously the 1984 Apple one for me was such a big deal because it was like a little mini movie, right? It kind of was this game changer with computers. And it
Yeah.
was kind of like, wow, this was really crazy. Like, I don't know, it's just one of those things. And marketing during that time frame become a thing, right? This is the Air Jordan thing, right? This is when it become a thing where marketing, advertising, and merchandising was just it made a big level up in our culturally. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
part of it.
For me, one of them, I don't know if Ego remember. I remember the Jordan Jordan and Bird commercial where the phrase "nothing but net" came from because they were playing
Yeah.
horse together. It was a McDonald's ad, and at that time you had Jordan rising and Bird was older at that point, but these two legendary icons, and it was kind of unexpected, right? Because you didn't think Bird was going to be in the commercial.
Yeah.
But I mean, to see those two on screen together, if you grew up in that era where Bird was doing his thing and then Jordan's up and coming, right? He's a legend at this point. That was a great commercial. I remember as a kid who loved the NBA back then, especially, was like, wow, this is amazing. And then my parents and like my dad, and my uncle used to love the NBA back then. This is the greatest commercial ever, right? You got these two amazing basketball players, and then just the phrase "nothing but net." I used to say it all the time. I even still bring it up sometimes, but I'll do something and throw my food into the garbage or something like, nothing but net. My kid looks at me like, what? I'm like, yeah, you're part of this generation. You have no idea where that's from. So
No.
but that's probably one of the first ones that stuck with me that I remember. There's obviously more, but that one I loved.
Okay.
What about you, Ego? You got one that
I would say the Budweiser frogs. I don't even. I would just say Budweiser. So we had, so I had three younger brothers, so I'd make them say it, so it actually sounded like the frogs. But I'd say
That was
between that
great.
one and I had to go back to figure out where it came up. But the "Where's the Beef" commercial.
Oh
Wendy's.
God, yeah,
the old lady in Wendy's,
Old
baby.
school,
Yeah.
yep.
I was like, wow.
That's so
like,
funny
those are
that
two of the
you
ones
bring that
I
up.
remember.
Arwen Avalon had a stream and she made a Wendy's, and I was on the like I did for you that one time. You go with did the face swap thing, and I made it the "Where's the Beef" thing. It was just like half the people in chat had no
Classic.
idea what was happening because it was so
Yeah.
retro. Yeah.
Classic. one.
Mrs. C brings up definitely the classic. This
Yeah.
was the one you
That
always
was
started to expect, right? Because you expected the funny Budweiser commercial, but then you also had like the sweet dog and Clydesdale commercials that were every year, and tear jerkers, and even when there's been bad years, sometimes those sweet ones were still pretty good.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
even over the last 5 to 10 years, we've had pretty mediocre or poor years. Usually, some of those are still done right. They're done pretty good.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and she's giving you some love about the frogs. Yeah, I thought about the frogs too.
I love some frogs. Yeah.
Classics.
They definitely were viral. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
One that I would have to pick is more recent, and I only say this because I got it early and I got to put it on my website, and it went viral on my website. So I had the Volkswagen one, which is the Darth Vader Star Wars one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The marketing.
Was
and that
great.
went completely bonkers for me. And my friends texting me like, "How did you get this commercial?" I said, "They sent it to us." Because I had done I think I did 12 commercials that Friday. They just were sending that once I got one and I published it right away and sent it back to them. I guess it's probably PR firms. One firm talks to another firm or whatever. Next thing you know, I had 12 of these things. I was rushed, so I just stopped my whole day job life just stopped for a minute. I just clocked out my day job world and just said, no, I'm doing this for a minute. But yeah, that was a really fun commercial.
It was.
And for literally until a day or two after the Super Bowl, it didn't slow down. It become it went completely bonkers for a few days. Yeah, it hit all the buttons for sure.
Oh yeah. Classic one.
Yeah. Oh, this was last year's. Okay, so she's pulling out something I won't know because I didn't watch any commercials.
Yeah, they did. They did a Sopranos. They did the intro of the Sopranos show with Meadow driving in, and it was I forgot what car commercial it was, but it was pretty. It was pretty good. If you're if you like the show, then you caught what they were doing, and it was
gotcha.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, car commercials have been done well on Super Bowl, so you usually find good, clever ways to do different things. Yeah. So. Oh, look what's going on here.
Thank you.
I don't understand. What is this? What is this nonsense?
Thank
Matt?
you. Well, he's a smart guy. I mean, just
you know how am I supposed to dog on my one of my greatest members and one of my better friends in this whole universe? I would talk about folks if you just a great YouTuber and a cool guy. Matt's got that's freaking great, man. So Chevy Suburban is that commercial, by the way. So yeah, that's great.
Okay.
So. Yeah, New Yorkers, I know, man.
Agreed. Yeah.
He lives in the Midwest now, though, so I thought you would just abandon all that nonsense. So,
no,
I will say
you can't take it out of them.
I can't.
I will say that it was fun 2 years ago to know that at the last minute Brady's coming to Tampa. Tampa gets electrified, right? And then of course to have this actually play out that they're going to play like that, and it was really a cool experience to be able to. Relive that because when they won before, when the Dungy team left and they basically handed the team for Gruden to win a Super Bowl, and they won so massively, over the Raiders, it was, it was a crazy experience. My boys still remember that. So it is one of these things again, cultural, and sports, just like with movies. There's something that does create an overlap. Yeah. And because it's become such a massive marketing thing with the amount of money that's spent, it's no surprise. But I think that what you were saying earlier, Cannoli, is really the thing, though. It's almost like they're trying to shoehorn it into the culture. Like we're trying to make it. And it's like, you can't really force it. You don't really know what will go viral. You don't really know what will really... unless you really market it, market research it properly, and they don't do that anymore. Everything is agenda driven. So
yeah, it's obvious and it's frustrating. And I'm just expecting it now. Every year we go longer and longer into this culture stuff. It's like this year I have no idea. It's like, what am I going to see? What is it going to be? A Skittles rainbow commercial going into a certain agenda? Is it going to be a Coke commercial? Is it going to be Pepsi? Is it going to be? And I hate to say that, like the sky is falling all the time, but it's like this is where they've put us. They've made us insane because they just keep going and going and going, and it's sad because you can't just enjoy it. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, and I'm going to be sitting there with bated breath, going, "Is this the commercial that I'm going to talk about on my channel? Is this the commercial I'm going to talk about on Twitter?" Right. So instead of just enjoying it, and maybe that's partly my fault because I should just wash it away and say just enjoy it for what it is. But I don't know about Ego. You and AJ talk about this stuff too, and I know it's so frustrating that we have to live this way almost.
I refer to my woke PTSD. So you're not having I said I literally have woke PTSD. They've messed me up to the point where I have to usually stop myself try to back up and make sure I'm evaluating something fairly. The best example right now would be Wednesday. I just rewatched it with Mrs. Pops. She was very raw with her responses to little things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you end up with like a PTSD because it's just been this massive overload of stuff in the last 5 years or so. So go ahead, Ego. What about you, Ro?
I mean, for me, I already know what's going to wind up happening because it's 2 black quarterbacks. It's Black History Month, and they're already trying to figure out someone to sing "Lift Every Voice," which is the Black national anthem. So I'm just like, I already know. So that's an extra 20 minutes of the game before the game even starts. So for me, it's just like, I don't really care. It's like, well, you do have these 2 excellent players.
Sure.
And their fathers, to an extent, had a large deal of them growing up and making the decisions that they did. You know, that's the story I wanted to hear. I don't really care that it happens to be Black History Month, 2 black quarterbacks.
Right.
And this is where we are. I don't care. Like, just show me the path that these guys took, because they took radically different paths and they wound up in the same spot.
Yeah,
So,
don't make it just about race. Make it about like them coming from where they were in a comp. And they're, from what I understand, they're good guys. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Just make it about that.
Well, the only brothers I'm actually interested in hearing about were like Travis and his brother Jason Kelce.
Oh yeah,
they're cool. I don't know if you've been watching the podcast they've been doing. They've been putting up this week. Like, it's awesome.
It's funny.
Like, he'll wear his brother's jersey. Like, he's like, I know I play for the Eagles, but I'm wearing your jersey day with your hat.
Right.
You know, we're talking about, our experiences in the league, and it's like their parents are on too. Yeah. And so, there's a petition for the mom to do the coin toss at the Super Bowl. Like, those are fun stories. It's a brother's bowl, and like, that's the story I'd rather hear, because
that's not what they're gonna do.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. That's the only problem that I have. So I'm just like, well, unless I was at a casino, don't talk to me until the game starts with a kickoff. I'm not even going to turn it on until that time. If you tell me it starts at 6, then I have to ask, what time is actual kickoff? It's 6:30. Okay, game for me starts at 6:30. I don't care about anything before that. I just want to see the game. And because I have friends and family that live in Philly, I'm getting raw reactions while the game is going on. Because I lived in Philly when they won the Super Bowl. Had to – I'll play this. It was so bad. The day before the Super Bowl, they had to put Crisco on the poles.
Like, so they couldn't climb them. Yeah,
they still climbed them anyway.
Yeah, it's Philly,
and they're doing that. I know they're doing that tomorrow, as of tomorrow and Saturday. Yeah. Same thing. So
see you, Matt. I mean, take care of yourself, bro.
Yeah. The funny thing that I found out was that there is there's a small bar for Kansas City transplants in South Philly, and it's a standing room. 60 people max total. They actually had to cancel the watch party there because they put out the flyer for it, and over 300 people responded to a 60-room standing only bar. And the fact that I was like, I know that's what you're telling us, but I know where that is in South Philly, and there is no way you're going to have that game in peace if you guys won.
Oh God, like, no.
So, yeah, it's like we win, we fight, we lose, we fight. So
it's Philly. We all knew when they won the Super Bowl that year that all hell was going to break loose, and it did. I was not surprised.
Yeah, and I lived maybe 30 minutes outside the city, and I was like, I am so glad that I moved out, because it was absolutely nuts. But yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I'm watching. I'm watching it for the actual stories, for the cities that are involved. Like, I don't really care to hear anything other than that. I just want, I knew Jalen Hurts was going to be a really good quarterback, and I was just so upset that he got drafted to Philly, because I knew it was going to be a wrap for us.
Well, I have to be honest. I'm kind of a Joe Burrow honk. I'm such a big fan of this guy.
He's good. Guy's good.
And it was a little disappointing to know this wasn't going to be there. It's like we got just a little bit short. My son's messaging me like, you okay, Dad? And I'm fine. I'm better than you are, bro. I'm like, I'm in good shape,
So true.
Yeah. What do you think in your mind that Cincinnati's missing then for next year? Like, what do you have to draft next year?
Well, again, I think the biggest thing, from what I understand, with the game against Kansas City, they also went into that with like some major injuries to the front line, right? So it's like you can't always control injuries, But you have to evaluate your free agents. You got to try to continue to draft well, plug your holes, and look for they're at the point now where they're literally just, keeping where they're at with maybe a player or two, and then just things going right for you. There is a certain element to luck where certain games with the weather, a little play here, a little play there. It's just the difference is between winning and losing, and there's just certain things, and then there's intangibles you can't control, which is what Brady was famous for. Was like that he had an intangible that Michael Jordan is the other. These are special situations you can't formulate for. I don't know if that's Mahomes or not. I thought it was before, and then it kind of went away for a minute, and now he's had this year. So I don't know if he's a human joystick. Like, it's just he's doing things that, because my son was like, "There's never been a player like this. There's never." I says, "Yeah, you didn't really see Randall. You didn't really see Randall Cunningham and Michael Vick in their prime, because Michael Vick and Randall Cunningham in their prime, it was again very small." Short, 2 years kind of thing. Mahomes is different, but the game is different. There's no way you're telling me that Randall Cunningham would not be just blowing this league up right now. This dude was 6'5" and
he was
light,
a monster, cannon arm,
incredible.
He used to kill us, man. I used to hate that guy because he would just shred us with the Eagles. Oh my god! But yeah, you're right. It's a different sport. I always bring that point up with today's players. It's like, well, I hate doing sometimes the generational thing. Like, I really would love to see the rules that we had in place then, where they didn't protect quarterbacks so much to put them in today's game. And I don't know how they would survive a lot of these guys. Now, the mobility is incredible now. These guys can escape everything. And maybe back then they weren't as athletic, but I remember seeing Joe Montana getting destroyed by the Giants in the playoffs. So he literally was put into the next zip code by Leonard Marshall and won the championship game. Like, he was, and he got up and played though. Still, I thought the guy was dead and he played, but like if that happened now, I don't know if they would be able to withstand it. I just don't know.
Agreed.
But yeah, but it would be interesting to see. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is indeed. So, John is here. Let's see what John has to say. John, yeah, another year, a Super Bowl. Let's talk XFL coming back. Who's excited?
I'm actually very excited about that.
I want to see it. Yeah,
San Antonio actually has a team. Yes. I want to get. I'm getting tickets for it. Tickets are pretty cheap, so hopefully I get a chance to go to one and let y'all know what it's like, because I'll take it.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Archie says the Lions come back at Super Bowl the next 3 years. Yeah, we'll all believe it when we see it, bro. Even if they do. Yeah, I don't have any faith in any.
Sorry, Archie.
Sorry, dude.
I couldn't agree more. What you were saying, Cannoli, and I actually did an interview with a guy. I don't even know what channel it's on. I don't even know where it is. Probably on the act, because so much has changed in my world. I think it's actually on the What's Your Story channel, which now I've kind of rolled that into the Pops universe. But he is an NBA statistic mathematician. He'd come up with like some of those formulas and algorithms that they use now back in the day. Right. He was in like journalism and stuff. And he was trying to explain how statistically, if you actually did what you were saying, like the rules were the same and you plug them all back together. And he had this book that he did. I said, I want to talk to you about this. And it was fascinating to hear his case of why Oscar Robinson would be so far superior to any player we've ever seen, because of how different the game was when he played. Well, he had whole seasons where he was triple doubling. Whole seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And you have to remember too, back then you couldn't go in the NBA early. So he had to play all 4 years in high school. So he was saying that part of his prime, when he went into the NBA as a rookie, he was already an all-star superstar. So he actually kind of came into his prime in college, but he couldn't go into the NBA yet. So if you kind of look at it, even his stats he's being cheated because he actually was, he was obviously this. Yeah. So it was really, he went into like an incredible amount of statistics that it was a great equalizer. I have to find the book. I still have it, I think. And I don't know if that's been done with the NFL. My son and I have had this conversation many a time. So I said, yeah, there's just something that you see that's special. And people that when you're not in the generation, and you can't describe what it was like live it kind of gets lost. Like if you didn't see it happen in real time, I've made a point of going back and watching games. Even YouTube has a lot of these games, right? I've gone back and watched. I went back and watched Wilt Chamberlain score 100 points against the Knicks. I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to see some of these things actually happening. It is kind of fun. I haven't done that with the NFL. Maybe I should go back and watch some of the old games. It'd be kind of cool.
NFL Films was great for that. I used to watch that, even though the games was 10, 15 years ago, just having the background interviews, setting the stage. I remember what was Super Bowl 6 with Joe Montana's guarantee. I didn't understand it until I to watch the NFL Films on. I was like, oh, wow, it really was that big of a deal.
It was pretty bad. Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah, so definitely agree on that one.
I got lost in that. So we're talking about Joe Montana's guarantee for his 6th win?
No. I think it was Super Bowl 6 when he said he guaranteed the win. I can't remember which Super Bowl it was, but I mean, it was so far.
It was about Super Bowl 3 with Joe Namath.
There we go.
Oh, you mean the Jets, right? When he against the Colts?
Yeah, that's when the Jets went.
Yeah.
That's
wrong person.
That's Super Bowl 3. Yeah. Okay. Super Bowl 3. Joe Namath makes the guarantee.
Yes,
to beat Johnny Unitas's Colts, which was absurd. There was no chance they were going to win this game. He made the guarantee they did, and they won. That's the most famous. Because I don't remember Montana ever being that way. Montana was very low key. There were no real sound bites. He and Rice were just go out there and execute and do their thing. They did. Yeah, they were just unstoppable. Ridiculous. So the Super Bowl where the 49ers beat the Broncos by 30 points, whatever that landslide Super Bowl. We were at a bowling alley. In college, and it was playing on the TV. And I was like, I cannot believe a Super Bowl is this one-sided. It was like one of the first ones in my lifetime where it was just so dramatically one-sided and uninteresting. So, I don't know about R2's prediction about the Lions and that kind of thing. So,
You'd be waiting a long time, R2. Long time.
That's a guarantee on that one.
Keep going, buddy. I don't know. I feel Lions fans have a certain place. It's got to be rough. It's got to be rough. They've never even been to the NFC Championship. I don't think. I don't remember them ever even.
I don't think so.
And poor Barry Sanders and
Oh man.
They just Megatron. Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah, they had some talented players.
Yep. Never put it together. So, all right. So let's do a commercial break. I got another commercial. Let's do a commercial break. We'll read again. Let's do. Let's do a Viewmaster. This is a 1970s Viewmaster commercial.
Like cartoon characters, famous places, sports. I got someone right here with the reels out of the packets. Now, find the cartoon characters.
I found that on Duck. Popeye and Scooby-Doo. Bugs Bunny.
What about you?
Is Washington Monument a cartoon character?
GAF Viewmaster. Over 500 3-reel packets available. All purchased separately.
Jeez.
Wow, I had one of those.
Me too. I had a Viewmaster. Yeah.
Wow.
I still have a Viewmaster. We have a little box. It's a special little red box. It has like 2 or 3 Viewmasters and a stack of little discs. And the grandkids know they have to go ask to open it. They're not allowed to just have it because it is old. It's old vintage stuff, right? It's not so. I don't know if they're 70s stuff, but because Viewmasters have been around a long, long time. But yeah, they do it. There are a lot of animals, and the 6-year-old is she's going to ready to turn 6. She's getting old enough now where she can do them and she can follow along and not have to have us read every single frame. It's like, oh my God, I wanted to entertain you, kid. Yeah. Oh yeah. I love all of the vintage stuff. I love all I one of the first cartoons that she started to watch with me was like the Where Are You, the Scooby-Doo, right? Which is the teacher of the original Scooby-Doo song. And I've told young parents, I said, this is your gateway drug to teach your kid not to be afraid of monsters and afraid of the dark, is teach them about Scooby-Doo. Because Scooby-Doo, there's always just a guy in a mask. It's all about pretend. It's all about, that kind of stuff. So it was like a huge, easy thing for me as raising my own kids was to be able to do some of that. So
awesome.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to get to was talk about football movies, because it's really one of those things where sports movies kind of usually gets a bad rap. Then there's a lot of really good, there's a few, this baseball movie and this, there's usually 1 or 2 in some of the different sports. But I thought we'd throw it out there and kind of see if you guys had certain favorites or things like that we could kind of chat about. So, Cannoli, we'll start with you this time. Favorite football movie or one you want to throw out there?
I'd say my favorite one is probably Friday Night Lights. Because it really, it used to be Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino, only because I love Al Pacino, right? And even though it's not a great movie, the cast was good. And growing, when I was a teenager, it came out, and I was a little nostalgic for that. But Friday Night Lights came out, and I was like, wow, this team, not only does it nail how intense Texas football is, high school football, they treat it like pro football. It's based off, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it based off a true? It's based off a true story, right?
For the most part, I'm pretty
For the
sure.
most part,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the showing the pressure that they put the kids through, and the parents put the kids through, and then but the football scenes are amazing, and then the ending was fantastic, even though they didn't win. To overcome the odds of this team that they played, I think the team was from Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. At the end, right? And I don't know, man. It's just something about that movie. It's very grounded, very real. And when I first saw it, I was like, that's it. It's my new favorite football movie. Of course, there's The Longest Yard, North Dallas 40, and all those great movies. But Friday Night Lights to me nails what it is to be very hardcore football. I have family in Texas, so I know what it's like. With them. That's probably my favorite one. Yeah, it's just an amazing movie. Billy Bob Thornton's great, and it's just a good movie.
Wow.
Great choice.
Yeah,
great choice indeed. Yeah, Mr.
I used to
calling
play
the shots here.
Yeah, I played offensive line. I was a right guard in the Arizona Football League, so it was like just a step below arena, basically. Wow. It was fun. I did it for a year and a half, and it was great. But I used to play that Any Given Sunday speech by Pacino on the way to the game to get hyped up, and that's why that was my favorite movie, because of that one speech. But then, like I said, after Friday Night Lights, I was like, nah, this is it. This is the premier football movie to me.
Cool. What about you, Ego? You got something you want to throw up there at the top of the list?
I will say that I was my younger brother and my parents were extras in Any Given Sunday.
Awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow,
like the scene where they actually throw stuff on the field. That was actually in Cowboy Stadium. So we all got to be there as extras for that. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, we were there for that.
It's just another team winning in your stadium, I guess.
Yes, that was that should have prepared. I should have known that was.
Sorry, I love you.
Shots fired. No. Shots fired.
Man, I love you, Ego.
I know this man's like these are timely and on point. Like, you know what? It should have been a sign then. I should have known. But no, I mean, and to your point, like I played football in Texas, and it was like it's at that point. Like I remember I was on the scout team for a practice on a Tuesday, and they put me at fullback, and I'm the same size that I am now, the same height. So imagine me putting up at fullback, and it was supposed to be a play action. So I didn't even get the ball, but it was like, hey, run up the middle. And then I got hit by someone that was 5'10", 280. I was starting to run in the opposite direction. They're like, where are you going? I'm like, Coach, I got pre-calculus homework. I'll catch y'all later.
I got to go.
That was it for me. Right. I was like, you know what? I'm good at math. I don't need this. I saw Friday Night Lights a few years later. I was like, you know what? That makes sense for you. And I will, before I get to my movies, I will ask, would you be okay if they actually not necessarily did a remake, but did an updated version of Friday Night Lights for football players now with NIL deals and
it would be lots changed. Yeah, lots changed. Right?
I would watch that.
I would be okay with it.
Different.
Yeah, I would be okay with it because I would like to see how they introduce, like you said, all these new things, especially with college. Yeah, the high school going into college and how that's changed and. I'd be down for a sequel or maybe like you said, like a kind of a reboot on that, modernize it. Yeah, because I thought they nailed it back then. It was a perfect football movie. So to see it now, you get the same people who created that movie into now. I know there was a show too. I never watched the show, but
Michael B. Jordan was on the show. I heard that's when he got to start. But I mean, like that's the only reason you know about it.
But I would be down for an updated version of what football's like now. Yes,
I was like, I could only imagine what that is like now because they got kids that are 9 years old having huge Instagram and TikTok followings because they're blowing out kids in like flag football, and then they can't wait for them to be old enough to play. Like the kid that's the meme that's holding a little cup and he looks out the side of his eye and looks away, like that meme. Yeah, you know, he actually is going to be playing in college and he got an NIL deal for like Popeyes. Like
That's what I mean.
actually plays football,
Wow.
and he got that.
Yeah,
Like,
young kids are becoming millionaires immediately now. And this is where people have the issue with the NILs, where I have an issue with it. Because you're not, the whole point of college was to motivate you to get to the NFL. And now I'm okay with players getting paid, but it's kind of going overboard.
I will say this. Number one, you avoid a Reggie Bush situation where you have to give back your Heisman.
Yeah, I agree there.
Number two, you don't actually make these kids redshirt, play one good year of football, get drafted highly, like a situation like Mark Sanchez, thrust at the age of 23 to be the face of this huge franchise, get 50 to 60 million guaranteed, and then blow it.
I agree.
You know, for me, I like NIL deals because you don't have to go early. Right. You say, hey, well, look, this deal is 4 years, 11 million, like the guy that was going to Arizona State now.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, hey, I'll be here for at least 4 years. I learn how to be business savvy, honor my agreements. I get the education while I'm here. I may or may not get a chance to graduate, but I will have built enough credits up so it won't be long if I go back to decide to graduate. On top of that, by the time that I get out of college, I've managed a brand. I know how to deal with contracts. I know how insurance policies for my body work out. I know that I'm a brand and a business now, and I'm 23 and I'm mature. I think that's part of the reason why, you know, in basketball, LeBron will never get as much credit as Jordan. Jordan stayed the 3 years, so he was a polished product from jump.
He won a championship
and
in college,
and he won. Yeah, and so you want these. You're hoping that you catch the next Mahomes or the next Jalen Hurts, but you know these guys were there 4 years. You know, we lament the fact that, like, oh my goodness, they just can't get it. Was like, what did you get at 22 or 23? Yeah. You know, especially if you weren't there but for a year. But I mean, that's, you know, that's, sorry we had to segue into that, you know, but I was just asking that was
we took over Pop Show for a second.
We're so sorry.
I enjoy the conversation of it all too, because I really haven't given it a ton of thought or research or anything like this. But I agree that I hate that we'll do sequels or reboots with the same name. So I don't know that I have a solution for Friday Night Lights 2, what to call it, but I would love to see that. That almost is like a softball for some type of updating, and revisiting a topic that could be very, very good and very timely with some of the changes that have been done. So that part I think I'm really down for.
I'm down.
But
what about your movie, Ego?
As far as my movie, it's kind of like there are two of them, because there's one that I loved as a kid and one I had to go back and watch as an adult. So the kid in me, in the hugest twist of irony, I can't believe I'm saying this.
Oh no,
Little Giants,
dude! I just watched that. You know, I was gonna pick that, but we just watched that. With my daughter this weekend, and I just, but yeah,
it was
I don't want to hurt your feelings.
No, I loved it because it was the first time I saw grown-ups defer to kids.
Yeah,
like they had autonomy. Like the kid that was the annexation of Puerto Rico.
I was
like, what is this play?
Well, you had Ed O'Neill, you had Al Bundy in it. Rick Moranis, like it was a good cast,
And then, like, I think Emmett Smith was in it.
Bruce Smith too. I think Bruce Smith was in it.
Yeah, they had
John Madden.
They had so many cameos. It was so great. Like, if you, again, not saying you should do this, but it's lightning in a bottle movie. If you ever tried to update it in any way, I would watch it because it was so fun. You know,
and then no, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the point also I brought up to my wife when the girl in the movie was the best player.
Icebox.
But back then, whenever that movie came out, what was that, in the 90s?
94, 95.
It wasn't. We were saying, like, it doesn't take away from the story. They're not trying to push an agenda.
No,
she is what she is, and they explain kind of why, and it just fits. Where I was like, if you place that movie into 2023, then we know where they're going to go with the storyline, right?
Because because now we have to demean or belittle the boys to raise her up. Yep. Like this goes back to Bad News Bears, right? The girl, she's just as good. She can she can play on their level. Now it's about demeaning everyone and belittling everyone. They just can't get it right. So that's a fair choice. That's a fair choice. What's your second one, Nico?
Okay, it's a two-way tie between
2A and 2B. I got you.
I know. Yeah, so like it's gonna be Little Giants, and then right underneath there, it's like either Varsity Blues or The Program.
Oh,
good movie.
Program. Yeah, I'm thinking I haven't taken that in a while. But yeah, she was throwing out the Varsity Blues. I was waiting for somebody to see if
Varsity Blues was a good movie.
It was like that was a very realistic one, and it was kind of like right before Friday Night Lights told you every aspect of it. Like
that's a good point.
Varsity Blues was just football, and it was like a guy that's smart that just happens to be a jock and doesn't want to actually.
That was Texas too, right?
It was Texas. So it made a lot of sense. It's just I was too young to understand it when it came out, and then I went back and watched it. Same with The Program. Like they touched on everything. What was like the boosters dealing with it did have a good soundtrack, yes. Dealing with boosters, dealing with performance enhancing drugs and like the fallout that can happen. I was just like, well, hey, like there's these things you can take. I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna run around being headbutting windows out of cars. I don't want that. Anything that makes you do that is a no for me.
Do you remember in that movie, The Program, they took the scene out of the movie initially where there was a scene where the quarterback, I forgot his character, he's an alcoholic, and there was a scene in the original cut of the movie, the first week it came out, where he's laying in the middle of a road. Because you remember the part with the train in The Program where he's like kind of playing chicken with the train?
Yes.
Before that scene, there was a scene where he's laying in the road with oncoming traffic, trying to taunt traffic, because that's how he was, right? He was reckless. Somebody actually mimicked that and got killed right after that movie came out. So they actually cut that scene out of the movie, so you don't see it anymore. Even now, on any digital release or any DVD release, they physically remove that scene because somebody actually got killed mimicking that. So I remember when I saw the movie, I was like, wasn't there? Because it was in the trailers and it was in the commercials. And then you'll never see it. So if you YouTube it now, maybe you can go back, you can look for that, and they might have it somewhere. I don't know. But that they took that scene out of that movie. It was at the very beginning of the movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, just a fun little trivia fact.
Yeah, it is. Well, on Varsity Blues, hashtag RIP Billy Bob, just so we're clear.
Oh, Billy Bob. That was a good movie.
All right. Well, listen, it's a lot of fun talking about sports movies anyway, because then you end up with like the hybrid movies, like they don't really count. Like Ace Ventura doesn't really count as a football movie, right? Laces out, baby. Laces out. Just saying. But it doesn't really count. I'd be a hypocrite because I have two as well. I'd be a hypocrite because I actually did tweet at him today. I was tweeting at Billy D. Williams. He had his messages open for a minute. I was like, I tweeted about Brian's song because he played Gale Sayers.
Yeah,
and
good
I'm
movie.
like, Mr. Williams. I mean, obviously everyone loves your work as Lando, and obviously you played Harvey Dent. But I would love to have you on and talk about Brian's song, and we could talk about. I love baiting people into something. You never know. I have to be honest because we still watch it, and we probably watch this movie every year because it's like a clean, safe, feel good. It's early in his career, the whole thing. We watch Rudy. Rudy.
Yeah,
Rudy's just one of those, and I don't know that I'm not even trying to say it's the best one. It's whatever.
It's a good feel good movie.
There's something that's like when you grow up with some of them, sometimes you have like a special attachment kind of thing or whatever. Because you guys took a lot. You guys took kind of like what I think are really the best movies, like it's quality. Ranking the better movies. But Rudy's like this sweetness, nostalgic. Sean Astin.
High rewatch.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Replacements. Yeah, it was a fun movie.
Going there, that was a fun movie. It was definitely.
It's like the deaf wide receiver.
Yeah. The kick, the field goal, the kicker that smokes while he's kicking. Who doesn't love Gene?
My wife used to love really. She used to like Last Boy Scout. She thought Last Boy Scout.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, that was good.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, she liked that one. I always like Remember the Titans. That's one that I enjoyed with Denzel. Movie. Yeah, Denzel. Yeah, so
forgot about that.
There's been some good ones. There's been some fun stuff. What's the one with? Is it just called Marshall? The Matthew McConaughey one about?
Yes.
Is it just called Marshall, or they got some other name? Yeah.
I think it's just.
I like that.
Marshall.
I thought it was all right. So they did a pretty good job with that film. That was pretty.
I think
good.
so.
I remember going through that. Yeah. It was pretty traumatizing. It's one of those things because I remember thinking at the time, I'm kind of surprised this hasn't happened more often. I mean, I'm not trying to be morbid, but you would think with
it's
the
true.
amount of teams that they have and amount of travel that exists with college and professional sports, with buses and airplanes, and like, So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But well, good guys, good. So we're surviving our sports ball conversation. You know, all right.
Well, then I got a question. Then I know that we talked
Yeah.
about football movies in particular, but it's like, are the movies is it your best sports movie of all time though? Because mine's not even a football movie. And I don't even play sport.
No. I got to be honest. If I had to name my top sports movies, I don't think any of the football movies make my list.
Mine's a baseball movie by far.
Yeah, the baseball and basketball movies. Hoosiers is probably one of my most, and I'm emotionally attached. I did get to play ball in the gym one of the old gyms that is in that movie. I got to go in there and play ball for just a short period of time.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of cool. But yeah, that baseball and basketball, I think, have kind of like the top 5 kind of locked down, just better movies. And I'm not even trying to take away it has anything to do with the sport. It's just better execution.
Just better movies in general. Yeah.
Yeah, because Any Given Sunday and Friday Night Lights are probably the 2 best football movies as far as if I had to rank them. Even though I would think Longest Yard would probably be the other one but it's a comedy.
Comedy.
So it gets evaluated a little. The original one.
The original one. The one with Sandler was okay.
The Burt Reynolds. Okay. That's all right.
Yeah, I didn't really hate the updated one as much as probably most people do, or I should.
Right.
But the Burt Reynolds one, by the way, if any of you guys watch The Offer on HBO Max about the making of The Godfather,
great show.
It ends with Al Ruddy not coming back for Godfather 2 because he's basically making The Longest Yard.
The Longest Yard.
He's trying to get the deal worked out to get Burt to do this movie because Burt's like, I'm playing a prisoner. Like, how is this going to be good for my brand? Like, what are you talking about? And this movie is. I don't know. And Ego, you're like this uber film nerd. I'm telling you, if you haven't watched The Offer yet, you're going to love this.
Amazing.
It just really takes you into this process. And listen, go watch these interviews because I've Googled these interviews with Robert Evans. He's the guy that's this producer.
May I make a confession then?
Okay.
I've never seen The Godfather before.
That's it. Get him off the show.
That's
it.
I never got a chance to watch.
This is payback for not liking the Cowboys, isn't it?
I did Scarface, but I mean, like, I never saw Godfather. I know the references and where they come from. I know which Godfather that I'm not supposed to watch, but I've never seen
the third one. Before. Don't ever watch the third.
Wow,
I've never seen it before.
Yeah, I don't even know how to explain to you as like the objective film guy. Like, there are like a few movies that I consider like perfect. And I don't know that I even separate Godfather 1 and 2. I don't care for the supercut as much as other people do. I think there's something beautiful about number 2, the way they go back and forth.
Yeah.
But if you put 1 and 2 together as like an epic, man, you know how I've sold you guys all on like Bahubali Part 1 and Part 2, AGF Part 1 and Part 2. They're not meant to be one piece. Godfather 1 and 2, even though by the time 2 hit the theater, they already knew. They were already writing the script for the second part. They already knew what they wanted to do. They already had pieces done, and the show at least dives into that. You know what? I'm so glad you guys watched it. Maybe we should do a whole stream just talk about The Offer.
Man, that was so good.
I couldn't believe how good it was, and I fell
much
in love
better than
with.
I thought. It gave me anxiety because every episode I'm just like, this show.
It stresses you out.
This movie was so close, so many times to not being made, and like you said, it puts you right into the industry and the stress and the bull they have to go through. And I think when it ended, I was relieved. I was like, oh my God, I can breathe a little bit because it just hits you so much. But yeah, we loved it. We loved it.
Okay. I'll watch 1 and 2, and then hopefully I'll watch The Offer then. Okay.
When you watch The Offer, you're going to pick up on all these breadcrumbs when they're talking about Love Story, and they're doing this Ally McGraw film, and they're making this film, and they did this film, and you're like, you end up on this rabbit hole of like Hollywood history. And it's really, really fascinating. And Robert Evans, man, you talk about a guy that has these giant brass cojones. He tells stories about people. Like, he was at some sort of tribute for Nicholson, and he starts talking about Nicholson back when Nicholson was poor and paying child support or something. And just like, this dude does not care. I just heard about his actual. I love memoirs. I didn't even know he had one. I gotta find this guy's memoir because there's no way this guy holds back. He's not capable of holding back.
Never.
So anyway, I'm glad you guys watched it. Yes, Ego, I'm telling you, As a lover of cinema, the Godfather was so magical that the mafia started acting and dressing like the way it was portrayed.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. It's a culture setter. It was the movie.
It changed their culture because they were kind of like getting into the phase where because the old school mafia guys were dying off, right? So the honored code and all the things that are there, the omerta was fading away. And then when Godfather came along, it sort of like gave him a kick in the pants of, by the way, you are supposed to be living by these certain honor and rules and things like that, because it can turn very ugly. Look at what you're up against. And the film, I mean, I think even, oh man, his name escaped me. The Goodfellas guy. Come on, help me out. Henry Hill.
Henry Hill.
Henry talks about when they saw it in the theater and then they all started dressing like that and started talking and acting a little differently and things like that. Yeah, it was a transformative film.
And it wasn't just like a Goodfellas style. It was about family mostly, The Godfather, and centered around the mob. But that's how they sold it. Like people were like, well, nobody wants to see a movie about a family, Italian family. They want to see gangster movies. And it just turned everything on its head. And it was, to me, it's my favorite movie of all time, obviously. But to me, it's like he said, it's almost a perfect movie.
I will say,
I don't know what you could change.
That's true.
All right. The only related thing that I have about that is the fact that I don't know if there's a scene where they have dinner in like a boat or something like that. It's on like a ship, or it's a scene where they're having dinner in there. I don't know if you guys, it's literally like a docked ship. Like when you go in and it's a restaurant. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. I'm trying to figure out where the scene is because I've actually had dinner in that boat. It's actually in Philly. It's called the Monshulu. But I heard they did a scene from The Godfather in
that boat.
Yeah,
maybe in the second movie when they were filming the trip back and forth to Cuba. There was maybe done there, but I don't remember. Maybe. There's no real meal on a boat that I can think of, but there is interactions of him going back and forth to Cuba in the second film. So it's possible that it's in that sequence, and I just don't remember off the top of my head. It is not in the first. It's definitely not in the first movie. There's no water.
No. Yeah, that's the way that they marketed this place in Philly. It's like, hey, look, they shot parts of The Godfather in here. So
they probably meant Godfather 2 because it literally one is finishing, the other one is starting. Yeah, anyway, so let's go back to because Shiro's pointed out that she also had a love for The Replacements, and that volleyball gets a Bring It On movie. Wow, Mrs. C.
She's salty.
Mrs. C's throwing in some more love for The Offer.
Yeah,
I assume Shiro is calling you out for Godfather. Is that what's happening?
She's probably gonna turn this on right after I get off this stream. She's gonna sit down
I can't. You deserve it. It's a 3-hour movie.
I love her. Yeah, it's a long commitment, but I got to be honest. I have a hard time with some of these movies where I'm like, what is wrong with it? What could you fix? Like Shawshank Redemption is a perfect film. What are you going to do? The script doesn't give you any wasted time, wasted characters. It's just, I don't even know how you can get it this perfect. It's almost like the stars align.
Yep.
It really, really does. And there's not very many. There's not very many. So, okay. White Bear's calling some shots here. Let's see what here. I bet my team will make a hole-in-one on the first one. Right from downtown in the middle of the court and yelling birdie.
Not a sports guy, Whitey, I see.
All right, all right, that's pretty good, White. That's pretty good, White Bear. White Bear, listen, I normally do this for like super chats and stuff like that. I do a thank you. I do we are glass and we hopefully can share a smile and laugh together. But for this, let's do a crazy OG. It's not sports related, but it's something that I haven't played in a while. White Bear, that was so good. You deserve a thank you. Let me thank you with that.
Well, it's a well-known fact, Sonny Jim, that there's a secret society of the 5 wealthiest people in the world known as the Pentaverate.
So who's in this Pentaverate?
The Queen, the Vatican, the Gettys, the Rothschilds, and Colonel Sanders before he went tits up.
Dad, how can you hate the Colonel?
Oh, I hated the Colonel with his wee beady eyes and that smug look on his face. Oh, you're gonna buy my chicken. Oh.
God, that's good.
That was And Mrs. Pops was like, "What on earth have you done?" I said, "Listen, you do some master editing. You take some 1.5-minute scene and you just cut it all up. And next thing you know, I get my Pentaveret reference, by the way. And I heard they did some sort of like follow up on Netflix or something like that. I have not given it a moment of my time because he probably ruined it for me. He probably ruined it for me. Well, I had to say, yes, bro. Thank you so much, Wyber. Y'all made us laugh, and that's
that was
great.
funny.
Yeah, that was good stuff. That was good stuff. So, but yeah, no, we have to get Ego on the Godfather. Shiro, just take care of this all for us, please. Just the first two. We don't really care about the third one. I don't even acknowledge that it exists.
No,
God. She's probably gonna make me stay up and watch both back to back. I'm off tomorrow, so she'll probably make me watch.
Well, you better put aside 6 hours of your time.
Dude, I probably will. She'll probably make me watch.
I think you're okay if you have a break in between the first two, but you're not going to want to stop when you're in them because you're just going to be like, I don't understand. Like, how are we having like family drama be this addictive? It is really amazing.
We watch too much reality TV show. This could work for me.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. So, but listen, guys, we survived some sports ball talk and it didn't crash the site. And I don't know. We'll see if I get kicked out of the club next week or something. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not as big into sports now as I have been. I mean, I grew up with it, around it, played it, all sorts of different things like that. But at the same time, there's something cultural and pop culture. I mean, literally, we're gonna probably have a dozen movie trailers and all these references.
Mm-hmm.
So there is an overlap, and I think it's silly not to at least have some conversations about it and that kind of thing. If YouTube didn't have such stupid copyright rules or whatever, we probably would play some of these trailers or we would do some of this kind of stuff. But it's just, I don't even want to deal with the hassle. I don't even want to deal with the hassle. I think I was telling Ego separately. I was like, we did Talk Hard Groundhog Day. They flagged the Pinata clip because the Sonny and Cher song played.
Come on.
Yeah.
So what I did was I trimmed. It was 11 seconds. So that's the sweet spot, guys. You got to be below 11. So what I did was I found 1 second here and 1 second there, and I took it out. So it kind of like has a little bit of a blip to it, but it's not enough to be major noticeable. And then it went through. So they removed their claim. There's an art to fighting all of this. I'm shocked, and I expect more of this tonight. They'll flag something that we've done tonight, whether it, and I'll have to trim something or whatever. But I'd love to do the trailers and do what these big YouTubers get away with doing that we're not allowed to do.
Tell me about it.
It is fun to talk about. It is fun to do. I'm glad you guys were able to do it. Thank you for all of you in chat hanging out with us and doing this. I don't know. You guys, you got to pick a winner. Do you care enough to pick a winner? Because you guys are, because it's in your division. Do you cheer for the Eagles or against the Eagles?
No, I can't. I think here's the funny part: the Giants Eagles is a bigger rivalry.
It is, yes.
But the national media makes the Cowboys Giants because it's the bigger markets, right? It's Jerry Jones, it's New York City. But to me, I literally can't stand the Eagles. I know a lot of I have good friends and family that are Eagles fans. I just can't. No, I think they're going to win though. So if you want me to.
I do too.
I think the Eagles are going to win the game. I can't give you a score because I used to predict that stuff. I can't anymore. I'm just awful at it. But I think the Eagles are going to win. I think they're the best, most well-rounded team on both sides.
Yeah.
I think they have the better defense. I think Mahomes will have his moments, but I think that the Eagles defense will shut him down when they need to. I think the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
I've been hearing 30. Go on, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, does the Eagles have the better run defense?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like
Eagles
they have the number. Yeah.
Number
Eagles
one
have
defense, right?
Yeah. Well, then they have the number one pass rush defense, but the Chiefs have the number one pass block offense. So it's like it's perfect. It's evenly met. Like some of their things are the same. Like
very even.
Their records the same. There were something like their total points were the same.
The only factor to me is the quarterbacks because Hurts has never been there. Mahomes is a pro. I just think the Eagles are having one of those years. I don't know.
Can't deny it. Yeah.
I just think
Ego's going along with you. See, all right. Well, then I'll just be the rub and say there's no way I'm betting against Andy Reid.
Please,
Andy Reid's like, no, not going to let it get away. There's no way Andy Reid lets this get away, in my opinion. No. I don't know how that plays out. Hurts is really, really young. It's his first time in the spotlight.
That's true.
Mahomes, they've all been there, done that. Travis Kelce and Mahomes are not letting this get away. They got there. There's no Brady on the opposite side.
That's true.
Get away. that. Because this is how Mahomes has to make his name. Because if he doesn't start getting,
he's gonna have to. Yeah,
he's just another one of these great players that they don't
way too early. Yeah,
Favre's name is already fading away. People are not holding him at the same level of greatness because you don't have as many. You just don't. You get someone like Bradshaw that's like, I'm just saying. It's like you just get these things like So he has to make his move. He has to make his mark while he has the chance because you don't know how long they can financially hold that team together. So Jedi Bill popping in. Hey, Jedi Bill, definitely need to connect, brother.
Hello.
So if Twitter's not the best way, Bill, you just got to let me know what's the best way to communicate with you, my friend. What a great YouTuber, great supporter, man. He's been a cool dude.
Awesome.
So She-Ro's rolling over and says cheering for. I can't imagine cheering for the Eagles. I can't do it.
Because only because we lived in Philly. It's just like it rubs off. Like it's weird. It's like it really like when they had that the speech is like no one likes us and we don't care. They really believe that and they really wear that with them, and it kind of rubs off on you living in Philly. I know that usually the rivalry between Philly and New York is because people in New York consider Philly the 6th borough of New York, and to be quite honest, it makes sense. But it's just like Philly people are like we don't like that. Same thing in San Antonio. Like everyone considers San Antonio the pass through to get to Austin or Houston. So that's why I say Philly and San Antonio fans are kind of the same. So, I mean, it's begrudgingly, I would chill for them. But I've been hearing the score being 34-31 being tossed around. So I might go with that. Like
I can see that.
Literally like coin toss kind of. Yeah, I can't do it. I cannot handle the Philly and Boston fandom stuff. I just despise it all. I just can't handle this irrational behavior towards things. And I wouldn't be welcome to go to a game because I don't cheer for the team, even though I'm visiting. You guys don't want all my money. I just don't. I just have such a horrible. It's very dark ages to me. It's very primitive, and I just can't get around it. It's like, and it's been there my whole life. Like the Eagles were, just this villainous type team back when I was young, getting into sports. Now I will admit, as a young pops. I was a big fan of the Sixers. Big fan of the Sixers. I'm talking OG. I'm talking Dr. J.
Dr. J.
They couldn't get over the hump. They go out and buy Moses Malone. That's how they win the '83 championship, right? But as I got a little bit older and realized, these people, these fans, I'm not cheering for a city that behaves like this. I'm never going back. So I could never bring myself to cheer for the Eagles. And maybe I'm being naive with my American analysis of this game, but I'll be rooting for the Reed and Mahomes and Kelsey and some of these guys to do it. So
if you ever want pure entertainment of someone getting on Philly, did you ever see the Bill? It's audio only because there's no video from what I can turn. Did you ever see the Bill Burr 11-minute stand-up in Philly where he got booed for like 9.5 minutes straight, and he just
where he's talking about Santa Claus and stuff, and they're booing him?
Yeah, and they laugh. They're applauding him by the end. I was like, yes, that's how you have to treat Philly fans for respect.
It's true.
So I understand. It really is like that. It can be that way. So I understand how you feel.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, listen, we're going to wrap up. We thank you all for being with us and hanging with us. Everybody just have a good time, man. Whatever you do, whether you watch the game, watch the commercials, watch it the next day, whatever, just have fun, man. Life is there's too many things to do. You have too many movies like Godfather to go see to get caught up with all this nonsense.
Ego.
But with that, make sure you check the description. There'll be links to everybody's stuff here, all their channels, all their social stuff that I got. And, just connect with everybody, support everybody, man. We're like brothers in this, just learning and having fun together doing that.
Oh, yeah.
But make tomorrow better than today, guys. Be blessed, talk hard. And again, I try my spirit animals, Bob Ross, in here. Have a little smile, go out with a chill.
Bob Ross, all I do is chill. My life is a thrill, for real, Bob Ross. I be too calm for the drama. You don't want to cause a problem, I'll solve it, Bob Ross.